Although this allowed our family a lot of privilege growing up, it was also a strange dynamic. He couldn't figure out his relationship with money. It seemed like he never felt deserving of it and was often stressed and concerned about losing it. He was not ostentatious or snobby, and in retrospect, I personally don't think he ever fit in with the usual Wall Street crowd. He was known in his industry for his fairness and honesty, which appeared to be an anomaly in that world. But ultimately, money became how he measured himself and often how he tried to make sure we, his children, were measuring up as well. So being offered a monetary reward in exchange for memorizing a few vocab words as a means of bettering ourselves was not surprising. And there were parts of this task that appealed to me beyond the $5. I loved feeling the weight of that giant dictionary, closing my eyes, flipping through pages to land on the most obscure and interesting words, and putting them into sentences. But this all lost its luster after about 2 weeks in. I had little trouble memorizing words and creating sentences. I knew that this pleased my father, which was the never-ending and never fully achieved goal of my existence. But ultimately, the memorizing and the pleasing and the $5 weren't worth it to me. It became a meaningless and redundant exercise as I realized random words chosen out of context were not ones I wanted to spend my time with. When I stopped, I expected disappointment from my father, and it came. If I couldn't stick with this one activity, how would I ever be able to learn or achieve anything? Apparently, my whole life was ruined in one fell swoop. And, my father added with irritation, no money for you. It took me many years to understand what this dictionary game represented. A transactional relationship with my father where love was given in exchange for achievement. As I grew, this model would lead me to question my own value time and again. What was I worth? $5 a week? Kindness? Consistency? Unconditional love? I wasn't sure. And these random dictionary words he was telling us to learn didn't counter the vocabulary of his constant disappointment that he had handed down to us. The words I longed for were ones of love and comfort. Instead, over the years, I compiled my own inner dictionary of words that were self-critical and loud. With every subsequent failure or stumble or even achievement, I would open that dictionary, flipping through it in my head, landing on just the right word, and putting it into a sentence to capture my self-doubt, to criticize and berate myself. This was the dictionary of me. I held on to it, carrying it with me wherever I went. When I was a child, there was a word my father said to me over and over again. He said it when he was disappointed in me, when he thought I had made a mistake or a poor choice, or when he was just plain angry. Worthless. At a young age, this word got caught in the fibers of my brain. This word got stuck in the muscles of my body. This word became the suitcase I carried with me into adulthood. It's the word that made me mistrust my achievements and the compliments I received. At any given moment, this was the word that would come at me like a punch in the gut, knocking the wind out of me. Worthless. At a certain point, my dad didn't have to say it anymore. It was something I could feel in his tone or see in his eyes. And eventually I believed it to be so. And it became a word I said to myself. This was the mantra of my inner critic. Worthless. My successes weren't enough. I was not enough. And of course, the failures made sense. After all, I now understood this to be who I was at my core. I remember wishing for an explanation from my father. Why was I worthless? How had he reached this conclusion about me? I wanted to know specifically what I had done or hadn't done. Or was I just born this way? I also wanted an apology and acknowledgement that he was wrong and really I was worth everything. But those words never came. Ultimately, as an adult, I would gain insight into why he spoke to me this way. The trauma he carried from his own childhood, the helplessness and fear and lack of his own self-worth, were feelings he never resolved, and they leaked into his adult life. The frustrations and pressures of being a father and a husband, and the chaos and unknowns of raising a family triggered the fear that was ever present and filled him with anger and rage. Having had no healthy model for expressing his anger and fear, he lashed out. He was not the same person at work, because that was an environment he could control. He knew how to do